pop in. Okay, so getting started, the minutes, I approve the November 2023 minutes. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. How did my hand go up? Oh, no, it is. Sorry, folks. That was my cursor that popped up on my screen. Okay, sorry about that. A second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved. Very good. I know we're waiting also for Rob. Sometimes with work, I hope he wasn't left off the list. Was anybody else accidentally left off the list? I checked it. Okay, so next on the agenda is the climate change education and engagement CSC action. We talked about that at the last meeting. Rob had reviewed it. He had gone to a webinar about it. And we talked about whether or not we wanted to implement that action in 2024. So I did send it around to everyone to take a look at what would be involved. Maybe Ken, if you want to pull up the screen. Kevin, I'm sorry. Kevin,
Yep,
if you
no problem.
Screen, yeah. Oh gosh, it's going to be hard to read, huh?
Yeah.
Not bad.
No, that's good.
Zoom in a little bit.
Okay. Can you zoom in a little bit? Yeah, that's better.
Better.
Yeah. Okay, if we just scroll down to what's required or how to implement the action. If everyone had a chance to look at it. Essentially what they're asking for is a resolution. Zach, this would be in your department, from the town board, a resolution or a motion, maybe a letter from the supervisor, committing to a program that we decided to go ahead with. We also have to set up goals as to what we want to achieve. We would have to develop a strategy on how to achieve those goals. They also want a summary of the program, and they encourage us to work with partners if we go ahead with this. They've also talked in one section, I don't know, like I can't exactly read it. They talked about a training to educate staff about climate change. They talked about partners, working with other.
Collaborative, yeah.
Okay, I also noticed as we scroll down, there seems to be two aspects to this. One would be a program for climate adaptation. If we go down, I think if you go down to sub 2 points for the go down how to obtain points for this action. Yeah, there seems to be two sections. One is for engagement for climate mitigation, and the other would be a program for climate change adaptation. So there's a lot here. There's a lot to consider in terms of A, do we want to do it? B, do we want to do adaptation and mitigation? C, do we want to do mitigation or do we want to do just adaptation? So I'm just throwing it out because we talked about it the last time. Is this something that the group wants to go forward with?
Is this has to do with the IR, what with the IR the IRA program and encouraging people to join it? Is that my?
Well, what happened at the last meeting, Rob talked about both. He talked about both aspects of it. This would just be the engagement part of it and doing all the steps that we just mentioned would be required to implement it. And in terms of partners, Elizabeth, that would be like they talk someplace here about working with other partners. We would, if it's mitigation or adaptation and what we plan to do, I suspect one of the partners would be the Rob's group, the Climate Reality group.
Right.
Stephen and he are involved with.
Right. No, I think that's very important because apparently, according to Stephen, who's also involved in this, getting the word out and getting people to, I mean, informing people is very important, and that hasn't been done adequately so far.
I don't know, and maybe we need clarification on this, but I did not read into this that we needed to inform the public about what the different IRA and rebates and incentives are. Maybe that is something, it could be worked into the program. I don't know. That's something that, that would have to be considered.
Right. Um,
Anyone else?
um, I'm a little unclear of the difference between the two, mitigation and adaptation. I mean, what are examples of those? Do you-
If you scroll up, Kevin, I think it does describe it at one point.
Okay,
I think, look under E, look under E.
okay.
No,
Okay.
the other way. This is how to, okay,
Oh, I see.
okay. Climate change mitigation or adaptation. No, it's up further. Okay, let's go to D.
Uh,
Okay, I don't see it in D. Does anybody see it in D? Maybe it's in C.
um,
Nope, maybe it's in B.
Kevin, you could do a quick search for the word mitigation.
Right. Would there be any tie-in, do you think, with taking Al Gore's climate reality course? Because that describes it in detail. And that would be a good tool maybe to spread the word.
I thought that Rob had talked about presenting something from that program. That's Gore's program.
Right. I've been trying to get in that for a long time. Stephen has taken the course and found it very helpful.
Does that link into this?
I don't see it there.
Okay, let's see. It does say somewhere here it makes a distinction between the two. I just can't, I don't see it at the moment, but I did come across it at one point.
My husband Stephen has been working on this program for quite some time. He happens to be here. Would it be helpful for him to make some comments?
I think what we really have to do is understand, first of all, yes, it probably could be at some point. I think we have to understand what they want us to do.
Oh, right.
See if what climate reality, how that would fit into what they want. Because in order to qualify for approval for the action, we would have to do whatever the requirements are here. Did you find that there?
Right.
Mitigation?
Yes, here it is.
Yeah,
Point.
it seems to assume that we know what what the difference is. It's using the terms mitigation and implementation, but it's using it if we have already know how those two terms are different.
I'm not clear what the
Well,
What
those words, I mean, mitigation means that there was some action taken, right? Some, putting in a culvert or something like that.
It's kind of after the fact.
And adaptation might just be, I don't know. I mean, mitigation is actually doing something.
Mhm.
Well, so is adaptation.
Yeah,
Adapt the
I'm not
community. I mean,
clear.
I don't know,
Yeah.
if you put in the culvert and it doesn't work, then the adaptation will be putting on some boots.
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well,
Mitigation, I
I'm being
understand.
flip, but you try to mitigate where the water's going, and if you can't, then you got to adapt by
Or
moving the houses.
adaptation might be that they find certain parts of the landscape in a floodplain and you can't build there.
Right. Or you gotta move the houses.
So
if you
you're
can't
not doing
mitigate.
anything, but you're adapting to the environment.
Right.
But
This seems like a significant amount of work.
it's hard to grasp as to what we would do.
Well, it looks like you gotta get the, you know, town or whatever to say that we want to start, you know, informing people about that. And then you've got to identify things that are mitigation or adaptation, and then work with local groups in, you know, furtherance of those.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it seems like a whole lot. I
Hmm.
don't know, maybe it's simpler than it seems, but that's how it reads to me. Does anybody
Is
read
Rob
it
coming on, do you
differently?
think? Perhaps
Uh,
Rob could explain.
If I just found something on my phone here. Where it said, if mitigation, this is for this program, if we were to choose mitigation, if mitigation engage largest emitters to help them reduce greenhouse gas. And it says engagement program could be part of a climate action plan. So there is something in here that I picked up on that.
Would you repeat that again, Mary? So is that the difference between mitigation and adaptation?
Well, what I picked up on is the mitigation piece of it, okay?
Oh, okay.
So somewhere here, somewhere I found, maybe it was in CSC, and there's so much going on, or CEC, but anyway, I picked up this, if mitigation, in other words, if you want to do mitigation, engage largest emitters to help them reduce greenhouse gas. One, engagement program can be part of a climate action plan, or it can be a standalone. They would look for regional partners. They would require 2 public events and outreach materials that explain the causes and effects of climate change, and a website. Maybe if you scroll down further here, Kevin, it's down further. Maybe it goes. I don't know where it is. Does it say under mitigation, under the 4 points? Is that where it says it? You scroll up. So, okay, one of my thoughts was this, because I agree with you, Skip. I mean, this is a time-consuming project.
I mean, not that it's not worth it, but this is really, I mean, what you just read down was you've got to get the local government to say we want to do this, and then you've got to find the major polluters or, you know, people who are emitting stuff, which just is a thing in itself. Then you've got to convince them to reduce it. Then you've got to have an event, you know, 2 public events to advertise this and develop a website to explain the whole thing.
Right.
Is that it? Does anybody else have any other input in that? If I'm understanding this correctly?
No, that's my understanding too. That, you know, yeah, it's a lot. So where I'm coming from is this. If we were to choose just mitigation, and if we can find it here, that'll be great. But if we could just do mitigation, my thought is that since, Skip, we're working on a greenhouse gas inventory, a community greenhouse gas inventory, Skip and Rob and I are involved in that. We will get an inventory of community greenhouse gas emissions. We could use that. And also I'm going to be working with the Hudson Valley Regional Council on a community climate action plan. So what I'm thinking is, if we wanted to go for the 4 points, we could tie it into, we get the inventory, we know who are the major emitters of greenhouse gas in the community. We target that, and we develop our program around letting them know that they're the major emitters, having an event and talking about what could be done, for example, whether it's transportation or residential or commercial, whoever the groups are. Because I think we're going to probably have to do that anyway. Well, let me rephrase that. I think we should do that anyway. I think once we have that inventory and we know who the major emitters are, I think we should do that. We're going to want to do that. We're going to want to go out to the community and say, hey, we've got this inventory. This is what's going on here. Let's work together to reduce these emissions. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Right.
Well, I want to clarify that greenhouse gas inventory. I was under the impression that the information that we were going to get was the overall information and not the individual information. In other words, that inventory is going to say in Saugerties, commercial things are emitting this stuff, or the water system is emitting this stuff, but not individuals who are within that group pointing out who's emitting the most.
Right. It'll be sectors. It'll be sectors of the
It'll be
community.
sectors, but it won't be individuals. So
No, it
to
won't be
find
individuals.
out and engaging, we're going to have then go to those sectors and find out who within those sectors is emitting the most, which is another step beyond the inventory. Is that correct or not?
Well, I assume if we want to go, and down into that detail, sure.
Well, isn't that what this is all about? We have to engage those entities that are emitting the most.
I mean, just on the face of it, it seemed to me that the ice rink was one of the using the most greenhouse gas emissions, or the most. I don't know about others.
Well,
Is
that would be the government sector, Elizabeth.
Oh,
We're just,
okay, yes,
yeah,
you're
we're
right.
you're just talking community sector.
Okay.
Yeah. So to Skip's point, whether or not we could do an overall for the community, in other words, okay, let's say it's Mobile, the Mobile emitters, talk to the community about, their impact in vehicles, and how we could reduce the overall emission by using, other ways, bicycles or carpooling or public transportation, those kind of mitigation actions. I don't know. I don't know if that would suffice, if that's not detailed enough.
And it doesn't seem clear from this what those things have to be.
Mary,
Yeah.
I did read recently that one of the major emitters of greenhouse gases in New York State is automobiles.
Absolutely.
Transportation.
Transportation.
It's the biggest one in New York State,
Mhm.
biggest cause of greenhouse gases.
Well, the question before us is, do we want to tackle this? Do we want to tackle this? Does somebody want to head it up? Do folks want to serve on a committee to implement this, or is it just too won't use the onerous, but too time consuming, and we don't have the it's just too time consuming.
It seems like a very large topic. I mean, if it could be suggested that more EV vehicles could be used, then that might be a way in. But it is a huge topic.
Well, if you focus on one aspect of it, it might not be as overwhelming. As far as trucks, they have the truck voucher program now for businesses that want to buy an electric truck. There's huge grants for that right now.
Okay. Kevin, can you scroll up to the section where it has the points for mitigation at here?
See, we're still not very clear on the difference between mitigation and adaptation. And it's also not very clear about what we need to identify in either case.
Well, let me just say that one thing, that the FEMA pre-hazard mitigation grants are grants for improving what you already have to counter the effects of flooding.
Yeah, well, that's,
So it's, and they have said, we won't do maintenance. If you have a broken culvert, we're not going to give you money for that because it's maintenance. But if you need to expand it to allow for increased water flow, yes, we will help you do that.
Mhm.
So it's a matter of taking a step higher than what you're already doing to help mitigate the damages.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mary, if people are interested, again, down at the bottom are examples and resources that maybe people want to look at, some samples of these that maybe have already been done.
That's a good suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah, the other suggestion, does somebody want to follow up with Eleanor Peck, who is the coordinator, and get some clarification? Because we're really not clear whether exactly what they would be looking for in terms of mitigation. What would they be looking for if we were to tie it to the community greenhouse gas inventory and do a program with the community to help reduce the emissions? Would that be an acceptable program?
Mm.
But again, we would have to get the town to agree to it. We would have to set the goals, but these would be limited goals. It would have to set the strategy. It would have to get the partners. So I don't know if there's an appetite for pursuing this or not. Do we want to table it and think about it? Or do
Well,
we?
we should get some clarity on it because it seems like overwhelming to me.
yeah,
I don't, on the face of it, I don't know did you say Rob investigated this a little bit?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so let's wait and see what Rob has to say about this. Because on the face of it, getting the town to set up a program, to set up goals, to identify, major emitters, to have events, to set strategy for doing this, for, doing a website. That seems like a lot of work. And then there's two categories that we aren't even clear about, adaptation versus mitigation.
Yeah.
So it's not calling me, so.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's table it for now and see if we can get some clarification. But even if we know, mitigation versus adaptation, I think maybe what we would have to do is just say, look, and this is what we're thinking about doing, and whether or not that would be if we could come up with a sort of an outline of what we thought we would do and see if that would suffice and that would meet the requirements. The other thing is it's 4 points. If we only do one, it's 4 points. This seems like a lot of work for four
Yeah.
points.
That's my hit on it.
Yeah.
Not that all the stuff that this would be a great project to do if we had a dozen people who just wanted to work on this. But as a part of this committee and just, to take this on with all the other stuff we're taking on, seems on the face of it a lot. Unless Rob can clarify this, maybe it's not as onerous as it seems, but it seems like really a lot of work.
Agreed.
I agree.
And so I'm,
Agreed. Agreed. The only component of this that we haven't mentioned is the fact that, and we're going to go on to that. Why don't we move on then to the next agenda item, which is climate smart communities going for silver. So the other component of this is if we decide to go for silver certification, this would be 4 points towards our 300 points to get silver certification. So I want to just put that into the mix.
Okay.
Hi, Carol.
and Nicole.
Carol's here. Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so so the next agenda item then is whether or not we want to go for silver for certification. Just by way of background, I sent in the email, I have documented actions which would amount to 247 points. 300 points are needed for silver. I do not anticipate that we will get the full 247 points. We will know probably mid-February. They're going through the process of evaluating our application. It will come back. They will go through each point and they will either say approved, disapproved, or revise. So we're not going to know how many points we have until probably mid-February. So we have to think about whether or not we want to go ahead for silver and accumulate the 300 points. So that goes to what Ken was talking about just before we started the meeting about what other climate actions, CSC actions we could do, since I don't think we're going to do PE9, what other actions we could do to get to 300 points for silver certification. So Ken, you want to take it from there?
Sure. I thought your recommendation that we go for silver if possible was a great one, because you get 2 for 1. You not only get the Climate Smart Communities silver level, which would be something completely new that we would have achieved, but it also gives us points toward the CEC at the same time, and maybe getting a grant. So I did a quick look through the list of actions that you sent, the total list and a list of what we did originally, what we got recertified, what does not have to be recertified, the ones that you've submitted that we never did before. And I looked to see if there were any others outside of those lists that might be fairly easy to do and give us a couple of points. Many of them are not hard to do, but they take official acts to do them. They take something by the town board, not simply us saying something. But I did find a couple that are really easy off the bat. First of all, there's a PE5 action for 3 points that is recycling bins in government buildings. Now, all you need to do is wherever there is a trash receptacle in the government building, you need to have a recycling bin next to it or near it. That seems to me like something that should be done no matter what. I don't know if it's been done in any of the buildings, in the senior center, in town hall, in Kiwanis, but if it has been done, then we're already on track. And if not, there simply has to be a motion by the town board to purchase these bins and put them at those locations, and you get 3 points. It's a lot easier than the other thing for 4 points. That's
Really?
yeah. Now, a second one was what you mentioned, Mary, the heat emergency plan. I did look into that as well. If you're going to start up a heat emergency plan, there are a lot of things you need to do. You need to have meetings with all the constituent groups in your community to find out what they think the plan should contain. There are a variety of things that need being done. And you were right, it's 6 points for a heat emergency plan. But if you already have one, then it can be assumed, or you can provide information on what happened when this was first set up. Now, we don't have an official one. We don't have a formal heat emergency plan, because when we talk to Zach about the cooling centers, everything is being done in a very informal way. So there would need to be a motion at the town board level saying something like we've had for several years, based on community involvement, a cooling center and heating location plan. But at this point, we want to make it formal based on what we've already been using and based on all the information we gathered to develop the informal plan. I don't think you need to do a lot more than that because we've got the same advertising on the town website for heat advisories that we do for cooling notices, for cold weather notices. So I think we could support that, and we're talking about 6 points.
Mm.
The third one I looked up was PE7, source water protection. And that is anywhere between 6 to 10 points, depending on exactly what you're doing. Now, the only problem there is we could point to a lot of things in the latest incarnation of the zoning law, where it has a lot of sections on groundwater protection, but I have a feeling that is outside the time range that's acceptable. The same as one of the other things we wanted to do was just a year out of the time range. So I looked at the comprehensive plan instead. The latest version of that is 2021. That certainly is within the time frame. And I found a number of sections on it with recommendations, with implementation, dealing with groundwater protection, source water protection, groundwater and public water supply, protected streams and water quality, several recommendations throughout on how to do this. And that is within the time frame. I think we could say that the group that had the task of putting together a revised, more up-to-date comprehensive plan looked at a number of recommendations from the past, looked at suggestions from the community, and found that source water protection was a major concern because it appears in many different parts of the document. And then we could identify all the different places where it talks about that. Now, I haven't gone into exactly what we have to provide, but it is 6 to 10 points, and that's a lot of points for something we already have.
Yeah, very
That's
good ideas.
PE5? That was a PE5, you said?
That's
7.
P5. Sorry, that's PE7, source
Okay.
water protection.
And what was what was the heat emergency thing? What action was that? I didn't get that. name.
That's PE7.
No, you said the water protection is PE.
They're both. They're both under PE7.
Oh, they are.
Each of these items has a number of things listed for points. So you can have, there may be 10 or 11 or 12 could be under the same PE. It's a general PE action statement with a number of different more specific items, each with its implementation strategy and point value. So both the heat emergency and the source water protection were under PE7. The heat emergency plan, as was the cooling center action, were both under PE. Sorry, the recycling bins was under PE5.
Yeah.
If you go on the website that has all of these Ps listed, and again, we have that, but I'd be happy to share with everyone because I had to find it in order to do this. Each one of these PEs at the right side of the line on the web page has a little triangle. And if you click on the triangle, it enlarges that section, that particular PE with all of the individual pieces. And if you click on any of the individual pieces like recycling bins or source water protection, it gives you all the information for that particular one, what it requires, why it's important, how to implement it, and how many points you get.
Oh, and
Zach, may I ask you, are there recycling bins at Town Hall? Do you know?
I thought there was recycling bins in the senior center.
I haven't been in those buildings lately, so I don't know. I thought there were, but I'm not sure.
Well, in my office, there's a recycling bin for paper.
Yeah, well, that's
That's it.
It
Paper.
doesn't specify, but I think we could do sort of look at all the locations in the town official buildings and see what is there. And any trash bin that does not have one nearby, one could be put there. I'll take a look and see if it specifies whether it has to be for, you know, plastic or any of those things, or it simply says recycling bin. And that would be fairly easy for 3 points.
Very good point. Thank you, Ken. So Ken, you'll follow up with the recycling and see what we have and see what they're requiring.
Sure, I can do that. I can also I could write something up for the source water protection just based on what I found in the latest comprehensive plan, because I've got a lot of quotes from it, a lot of listings of where it talks about things. And I could see if we have everything based on it. I'll also do a little bit of history for what the group that developed that comprehensive plan did, if they held any public hearings or anything else. It would be on in the minutes of the board meetings, I assume, town board meetings, and I could get in touch with whoever is or was chair of that committee and find out what they did. The
Well,
only
I think Leanne was involved in that.
Carol was on the committee. Carol was on
Who's on the committee? Yeah.
Okay. So we would just have to get a sense of what the committee looked at, who they talked to, if anyone, what they did in order to gather the information to develop the new 2021. And then I can try and write something up for that based on all of that information. For the heat emergency, again, we need to go back and see what was done, but it would require, I have to believe, a town board motion. And we could decide what the motion would say in order to most clearly do the things that the points require be done. If that is.
Ken, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can I just ask a quick question?
Yep, please.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. You're saying that a formal adoption of a resolution by the board would, in a sense, more formally memorialize that?
Yes, Zach, it was clear to me
Okay.
reading what they want, assuming you don't have anything in place and you want to simply develop it from scratch. It seemed to me that one of the basic things was a formal, officially adopted plan. So
Okay.
it needs to be based on a bunch of things, but since we have an informal one already, I think we could say some things to indicate why the informal plan was officially put into place. We know why. And
Right.
if it's made formal, I think that would take us a far way along to satisfying what's required.
Okay. I would just based on, prior practices, I would think that this would be a fairly, I don't want to go as far as say simple, but it should be a slightly easier adoption.
I think it's doable, definitely doable. What I could do
Yeah.
is to send you exactly what they require
Okay.
to get this, so you can see that very clearly without having to find it in the midst of everything else. So I'll send that to you with a couple of short
Okay.
sentences.
That would be great. Thank you, Ken.
Okay, you're welcome.
Great. Hey, Ken, I
Mike.
like that list. I thought I remembered something about landscaping and moving to electric vehicles, do you have any information on that? I mean, I'm just thinking of Chorvis in general and
Yeah.
what they're doing over at Cantine and the Parks Department. Maybe they have electric mowers already. Maybe they have electric carts that get the workers around. I don't know
There are a number of things. I just wanted to find a couple that seemed the simplest to do.
No, yeah, I just wanted.
You're absolutely correct. There are a number of other things that with a little digging or talking to the right people, we could see if we're there or we're on the way there. So yeah, my 3 was simply a sample of things that I think we could get points fairly easily in order to start moving us toward the silver level.
Well,
And
I would look in, Mary, I could look into that particular thing a little bit and maybe give Greg a call and see, if it fits into anything.
Before you do that, Mike, let me send out again the URL for where the complete list of the PE actions are, with again a little something that says you need to do this to
Okay,
and see all the things that fit under each PE, and you need to do this to get the details for each individual item. I will send it out to everybody.
That'd be
oh,
very
great.
helpful.
Can I just, is the electrical landscaping equipment, is that under CSC or CEC?
I thought it was
I saw it somewhere,
CEC.
Mike. I saw it somewhere also, and I picked up on that, and I thought that's a possibility.
I thought it was in the CEC thing that you sent out.
Yeah, I think it's CEC, right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, just for clarification. So it won't be under CSC, but yes, if you could follow up on that.
I'll
Would-
take a look.
Okay, and that's going to bring us to the next agenda item, but before we get to the next agenda item, which is CEC, what else do we have for CSC for going forward? And, the question is whether or not we will be able to acquire the 300 points to get to silver. And as I said, we're not going to know until probably the middle of February how many we have already. So did anyone else pick up on anything in CSC that they wanted to look into further?
Distinguish, what's CSC stand for? I'm
What?
sorry, I'm getting confused.
Tell me about it.
Communities, climate smart communities.
Community.
Climate smart community versus
Clean
CEC.
energy community.
In energy community.
Right,
And we're
right.
trying to get enough points in the climate smart communities. If we do that, then we qualify for more points in the clean energy communities, which offers many grants. And if we get, 5,000 points? I forget the
Yeah,
point system.
we'll get to that next.
But
Yeah.
we're
No.
very close to getting to that. So the reason we're pushing for the CSC is that it gives us, more recognition in the CEC, and that's where the funding is.
Yeah, the money's in the CEC.
Right.
Okay, next agenda item, CEC.
Nicole has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Leslie. Oh, no, that's my, sorry. Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, hi. Well, I mean, the stuff that I've been working on, I know that has points for but I don't know when we need the points by, because I'm not gonna be done with it for a little while.
What action is that?
To become a Tree City USA and, have a policy, tree protection policy and all that. Those are,
And that's under CSC?
I don't know which it's under. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Like,
there is a forestry program under there is a forestry program under either CSC or CEC. I think it's CSC, but I'm not 100% sure. There is a forestry program. Ken, did you come across a forestry program in CSC? Which is not exactly what you're talking about in terms of a tree policy or Tree City USA. And I did not look, I saw the action somewhere, but I never went in depth to it. So Ken, if you don't see it in CSC, it'll be in CEC, but I think it's CSC.
Can I just ask a question? Maybe we have these two programs. Can you simply tell us how they interact with each other? That is, if you do an action in CEC, does that translate to points in the climate?
Other way around.
All right,
way around.
explain it to me, Skip.
So if we get silver level, we've got bronze level, and that
Yeah.
wasn't, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Mary. That wasn't accepted in the CEC program, or we didn't get credit for it yet. So we're at bronze level. We would get some points for that. But if we go up to silver level, I don't know, we get a total of 16 points in
The
the
EC.
CEC program. There are
Okay,
no, and the reason we're doing it that way is there's
Okay.
no funding available right now for getting into any CSC program, but there is for the CEC program, and it's significant. It's $30,000 or more. I'm not quite sure again.
okay, so the,
Explain it. So our strategy is to try to get the silver level in
okay,
the CSC so that we can apply that status to the CEC. And if we get to a certain level in the CEC, then we're open for
then
funding.
there's money.
We can apply for funding.
How many points do you get for going to silver in
I
the
don't know,
C-
16 or something.
No, no,
in the
just,
CEC?
yeah, no, just to clarify, if silver in CEC is 600 points, but I just want to kind of back up a little bit here.
No, you meant CESC, right?
In C, in
SC.
This is
CEC,
why I want the discussion.
in CEC,
Yes,
if we get bronze, we have bronze, okay? In CSC, we get
SC.
bronze certification.
right.
There is what they call crossover.
That's what I want to
That
find
if
out.
you get bronze in CSC, you can get 600 points in CEC. We already got that,
That's
800, sorry, 800.
And we
All
have
right.
that already.
We got that already. So if we get silver in CSC, we would get another 600 points in CEC. That not all the actions are crossover. That is one. When we did CCA in CSC, we got
Yeah,
what do we get? I wrote it
it was
down.
quite a bit. I saw that.
We got 1,500 points.
And that was because the first,
Because we
because
got,
we had 100% renewable.
they changed that.
Now, I think now you can get it for the 50%.
Yes, they changed that. Okay.
All right, so the strategy is let's go for silver. And that will bring additional points into the CEC. And what's the level to get some money?
Okay. In CEC, we need 5,000 points
Okay,
to apply for $100,000 before October 1st of 2024. If we don't get 500 points before October 1st of 24, if we get it after October 1st of 2024, we could apply for $75,000 grant. We have in CEC 3,400 points. We have to get to 5,000 points.
okay.
Is
So
it-
if we got that, okay, I got the strategy now.
Okay. So if we get silver in CSC, we
It's
get another
frozen.
600 points to that. So we're down up to, just by doing that.
We're
we're
at
at
4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I thought also the CCA also now gets points in CEC. Is that right?
which C are you talking about?
I'm talking about in CEC, they didn't count community choice aggregation before at 50%, but now they do. Is that correct?
That is correct, and they've already
Yes.
given it to us, and they've
Oh,
already.
we got those points already from the
Oh,
first.
so
one.
that's inclusive in the 3,400?
Yes,
Yeah, we got that in the first one.
Okay.
we got 1,500 points in CEC for
Right.
CCA.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay.
And how many
So-
points did we get for it in CSC?
You got
I
me.
wish they'd change the initials, so they're not all C.
Yeah, they should get away from Cs.
Well, there's
easy.
community and climate. How do you get away from that?
Okay, I don't know. I'm a little clearer on the whole thing now. I'm sorry, I'm a little tense.
No, it's very confusing. And even that, but they changed the CEC. If you may recall, in the last program, we got the 3,000 points, right? And we got a grant for that. We got a $10,000 grant because we got 3,000 points. They had 4,000 points, and you would get a $20,000 grant.
But-
They took that away. Now you have.
I know, I remember you in the webinar complaining about that.
Yeah, so now we have to get to, well, what's
So
on-
what was the number of points? Was that, it was 4? Was that? What do you need to do to get to the $30,000 grant level? I remember that mentioned.
I couldn't find a $30,000 grant level at all. Kevin,
He spoke about it.
huh?
Melanie spoke about it.
I
Yeah.
couldn't find it. I
So it's
couldn't.
all that- I mean, it's great that it's 75 or 100. That's great. I just remember hearing 30,000, so.
You know what? I didn't see it in the CEC new guidance. Was
Okay,
it,
all right, maybe
had
it's,
been in CSC? Was it someplace else?
maybe I misheard. I don't know.
I could have missed it. I could have missed it.
No, Mary, you didn't miss it because I have the sheets right in front of me. There's nothing for 30,000.
Okay,
Under, if you get your points, 5,000 points by 10/1/24, you can get a $40,000,
No.
no, 40,000 for 3,000 points, 75,000 for 5,000 points.
I'm going to stop you there, Kathleen, because this is another bug in my bonnet. Because we got the 3,000 points and because we got $10,000, they
Yeah.
have changed it to, what did you say, 40,000 for 3,000 points?
It's 40,000, yeah,
Yeah,
it's CEC.
yeah. So now I find out if you've already got your 3,000 points and your $10,000, you can't
Can't
reapply.
get the other money.
You
Yeah,
can't reapply again. You can't reapply for $4,000.
Oh,
You can't, we can't.
Maybe we can give $10,000 back and ask.
Take all the LED lights out of town hall and
it's
say,
like a gamble.
I don't think Fred would like that.
Gamble on,
but you know, I'm just gonna vent here.
but Mary, didn't you say that there was a $4,000 level and they just took it
4,000
away,
point
and
level.
now you gotta go to 5,000.
4,000 points, yeah.
Yeah,
There
they
was.
took that away, so there wasn't an intermediate. It's crazy.
And you know what? I'm gonna vent here, okay? Because
Sure, go
we
ahead.
had 3,400 points. I saw a clear pathway to 4,000 points.
Yeah,
And a $20,000 grant. They ran out of money. They were like, there was so few dollars left. It wasn't, in my judgment, worth our struggle to get to
Right.
4,000 points because there wasn't enough money there. And my other, I'm venting off the record. The other perception that I have, Saugerties has been so far ahead that we are, how shall I phrase this? We're so far ahead that things that we've done in the past are not being recognized to the extent that they should be. And this whole business about timeouts, you know, things have to be done within the last 5 years or within the last so many years. Well, you know what? Our charging station, one of our charging stations, you know this, Kathleen, it was done in 2017. Guess what? That doesn't qualify under the new CEC, the one that was done in 2017. Kathleen, if you look under the vehicle section.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress and I'm wasting time with you guys, but
I just want to remind you that it says they have you, to get your points credit for CEC, they have to be high impact actions. So it's got to be high impact. Make
Which is-
sure, yeah,
which is in that 3.0 document that I sent around. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see all the different actions that we can look at, try to implement, and get whatever the points are. So just to wrap this up, what I'm going to suggest is that everyone takes a look at the 3.0 document for CEC. Scroll down, there's benchmarking, there's the vehicles, there's a whole bunch of zero waste, there's a whole bunch of actions. And take a look at those, as well as the CSC, which I think Ken has really got a good handle on the CSC.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's really going to be helpful. And see if there's anything there, any actions there that you think we should talk about and we should try to implement. Is that fair?
I just want to raise one point that if the CEC is concerned, it sounds almost as though they've acted in bad faith in the past in kind of running out of money after all the, I mean, is there any way we can confirm that if we try to get actions through the CEC that there will be enough money for
No.
grant? No?
Didn't they say first come, first serve?
Yes,
Usually the way it is.
yes.
Okay.
But I don't think that should be a deterrent at this point because it's early in the game.
Mm.
Okay, so we agree that we're all going to take a look at CEC. We're going to look at the actions there. We can see how many points we can be strategic and which ones we think we can implement and how many points that would get us. And what do we need? What did I figure out? 2,600 points? Something like that. Yeah,
No, 1,600.
16, yeah.
We're at 34.
Right. Okay, moving on. What's next on the agenda? We did CEC. Okay, Leslie, do you have anything on the EMC, the Environmental Management Council report?
I don't, they did not meet in December.
Okay. That's what I thought. And you haven't gotten any updates from them about anything?
No, yeah, November was kind of abbreviated meeting and almost just like a get together thing. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So next on the agenda, Carol, the planning board, did you have a report? Can you bring us
We
up to date on the
we
bill?
just met and we had a 2-lot subdivision that lasted 4 minutes and that was it.
Oh.
So we had nothing. So we actually got trained. And one of the things that I'd like to, put out to people is that we are going to be doing trainings. The guy who did it last night was excellent. Was it last night? 2 nights ago. And if there are people who are interested, I can certainly send you an email about when we're doing another one. It's about
Trainings for being on the planning board?
I'm sorry, having to do with,
Trainings for being on the planning board?
yes, did you ask if it has something?
Yes, these trainings are trainings, so if one wants to
To do with
apply.
seeker environmental stuff, sort of an understanding of what we have to go through to get through projects.
Hmm.
That sounds good.
So the
Sounds like good
training is going to train the planning board members when they need to make a decision on an environmental issue, what the requirements are?
Yes, seeker is the state environmental quality review.
Yeah.
And do that on pretty much every project. And, does it need an EIS, an environmental impact statement, or an EAF, which is, so it's very interesting. And it's always good to get updated because you tend to not use it often enough. We don't have such huge projects, but we know that they're coming.
Okay.
So it helps.
Is it virtual? Is the training virtual or in person?
That's what I'm going to ask to see if we can make it virtual. Right now, it wasn't. It could have been, but we didn't think about expanding it to the larger community.
Okay. Well, if it is, I'd be interested in if it's virtual. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Carol. Zach, the town board liaison report, do you have anything?
Yes, good evening, Mary. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm on baby duty at the moment, so I'm going to try to be brief but accurate. first and foremost, the town board, along with the police department, the last several days we've been inundated with the tragedy that occurred on 9W with the fatal hit and run. We've been briefed on certain details that I don't believe the public has been informed about yet, so I don't want to get into specifics, but I will say that our detectives, along with the help that we've been given by the state police, they're working very, very hard, following up on several leads, and I'm confident that they're going to they're hopefully going to bring resolution to this very quickly. Not the way that we wanted to see our new police chief thrown into the mix, but he's handled himself the way that we expected him to upon us offering him the position. He seems very well received amongst the department as a whole. So there's a silver lining there. We believe that we made the right choice. He's handling this matter very well. And he seems to have, the cooperation and respect of the department. So overall, like I said, hopefully we'll have resolution to that very soon. Highway department and water department have also been pretty busy since January 1st. For those of you following, I believe we've had 4 water main breaks since January 1st.
Really?
Yes, 3 of them, or two or three of them, excuse me, I don't have the exact number, all have fallen in the same water district, the Glasgow Water District. Excuse me. So the highway department, those were resolved. The proper repairs were made in a relatively quick manner. Water restored in those districts. Again, on a side note, this kind of elevates my concern even further about the rapid development I think Sorgerties is undergoing. I'm not an engineer. I don't claim to be an expert in any way, but I do believe there has to be a correlation between the demand that we're seeing in our resources like our water and the impact that that's having on our infrastructure. So that's just food for thought moving forward as, Sorgerties receives more and more building plans and further development.
Right. Zach, do you mind if I ask you a question about the?
Not at all. Hopefully I have the answer.
How old is the infrastructure that had breaks?
That I say we as in the town board, we've asked that same question. We've not been given a definitive answer. We are looking at ways currently to go in and kind of make those determinations and kind of see where lifespans are currently with that infrastructure, not just in the water districts that we're seeing these water main breaks, but in all of our water districts. Because again, like I said, I don't claim to be an expert, but an increase in demand on these systems, there has to be a correlation on these failing systems. And whatever lifespan they may have left. I don't have an exact answer, like I said, but we are working on getting some of those figures.
Okay, that would be useful to know from
Absolutely.
the report end.
Absolutely. In terms of potential or future projects, I want to say probably March, the town board is looking at putting on one of our agendas the proposal on Spalding Lane for the affordable senior housing project. We don't, like I said, we're not expecting to address that before March. And the reason I say that is because we've already had our 2 board meetings for the month of January. February, we only meet officially once in a town board capacity, but we do have 2 public hearings that are already scheduled for February on the 14th, Valentine's Day, and the 29th. And both of those public hearings are designated to address the changes in the events and lodging legislation. So that's why I'm not anticipating on addressing the villas before March. But I'll keep everybody apprised as to if that happens to change. That's really all I have in my notes for this evening. If anybody has any questions or anything else is on anybody's mind that I can address, please let me know.
Exactly. This
Go ahead, Mike.
this is Mike.
Hey, Mike.
This is a loaded question,
Sure.
and I'm not, well, with the water situation as it is, and I'm reading also about a private provider of water that is not doing a very good job.
Correct.
And if you look at the Hudson Valley paper this week, almost every story is about development. It's incredible.
Yep.
Are we approaching a point at which a moratorium is necessary?
You know, that is a great question. I don't want to say yes, I don't want to say no, but I want to say that has to be on the table of discussion.
Yeah.
Like I said, Mike, I'm certainly by no means an expert. But you know, I'd like to think that I can add 2 and 2 where necessary and appropriate. That again, great question. I can't say yes or no, but I think it's worthy of discussion. And I think you know me, I think that's the kind of the last thing that I would like to, have to entertain. But I think at this point, in terms of our failing infrastructure, what that's going to cost the taxpayer in upgrades. And I place myself in the camp of folks that I firmly believe that not every available acre needs to be developed. You know, I do believe in the conservation of our open space, and I think the more homes that we put up, the more the more changes that we make to our zoning, we're leaving ourselves vulnerable in a lot of ways.
It's a political. It's a political.
That was more of a vent than it was a direct answer, and I'm sorry for that, but that's just my current feelings.
No, well, I would just hope that the town board is starting to look at that problem.
I would
not
like to think that. I would like to
for a
think that.
moratorium.
Yeah, I would like to think that we are. I don't want to speak for the other 4 members, but it's just it's a concern that is just so in your face, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You would have to be of a certain level of ignorance to ignore it, and I'd like to think that the town board that we have right now, our makeup, that we're not built that way. That I'd like to think that this is an issue that we can take head on, and that we can address it. So I'd like to think that the other 4 board members are sharing this similar concern.
Yeah, and along with it, it's a complicated process. I mean,
Absolutely.
concept, because we do need affordable housing.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. I try to do my best.
I'm sorry, Zach, what?
No, I was just gonna say I agree with you wholeheartedly. When these types of issues come up, I try to do my best off the record and on the side with as many folks as I can to try to canvass people's thoughts on you know, the housing crisis and where they fall in terms of accepting this idea of affordability when it comes to housing. And I haven't really met or spoken with anybody that denies the idea that, you know, we need this affordable housing. Especially in terms of our seniors. You know, we're talking about some folks that have worked their entire lives to own their homes here, and it's becoming increasingly unaffordable for them to do so. Where are they going to go? You know, we certainly don't want to see anybody that has, you know, grown up here, raised a family here, has ties here, you know, to have to pack up and move because it's unaffordable. You know, I don't find that to be acceptable. But
I just like, we did have a moratorium in development, and I don't remember, but was it just 10 years ago or was it even more? Nancy
can
Campbell
remember
was on the legislature then, on the town board rather than. Do you remember that? Anyway, we did have one, and I don't know what.
I would be lying if I said that I did. I personally do not, but you know, I'm sure what you're saying is accurate.
No, we did stop. I was on the planning board then,
Sure.
but I don't remember how many years ago it was. But I also don't know if it had any effect. It slowed down for a moment, and then, you know, people just waited, and then all of a sudden we were back on track to development again.
Sure. Sure. You know, it's that fine line, right? That I feel like officials have to toe. I certainly don't want to step in the way of anybody finding ways to supplement their income and create, you know, their, you know, whatever they perceive to be their generational wealth with property development and whatnot. But we've reached a point where it's coming at the cost of, you know, our town.
Right.
and our prosperity and what that is going to look like. So again, these are just kind of my thoughts as of the past several months. And like I said, I would like to think that our board has the courage to address this properly, whatever that may look like.
Thank
Does
you.
the town board, excuse me, does the planning board, when they look at an application, do they look at the impact on the infrastructure and set perhaps a limitation or a provision to address an infrastructure issue, Carol?
Well, it depends what kind of infrastructure. We don't know the state of the infrastructure that exists and whether they're going to break, if the water mains are going to break or anything. We don't know that part.
And you
Sure.
don't have the
We look-
criteria.
Look
You
at
don't-
water resources, and we look at sewer districts. We create new water districts sometimes if we have to assist in the further expansion of whatever. But because obviously there's only so much water that our system right now can generate. It doesn't mean that we can't develop, I guess, but
Sure.
we have to.
You know what? I see this. I kind of see this as an opportunity for innovation in a lot of ways. I mean, just to tie this all into what everybody's discussing, right? Climate change, for example, we see these days now in January, February, we may have a stretch of 40, 45, 50-degree days, and then we're in these extremely frigid temperatures. So a lot of parts of these systems, they're constantly, freezing and heating, expanding, contracting. Overall, that, in my opinion, can't be, that's a lot of that's a lot of stress on these types of systems, and it's kind of hard to calculate the impact that has. But again, these are just thoughts that I've been sitting with for the past several months. So
I appreciate it.
Going back to the infrastructure, though, couldn't you probably determine if an infrastructure is 20 years old or 30 years old or whatever the anticipated life of that system is, and then put in a requirement that a development in an area where the infrastructure, where the sewer or the infrastructure is X years old, a requirement?
Yeah,
yes,
I think, oh, sorry, that wasn't to me.
no, go right ahead. Go right ahead. I was just gonna say, Mary kind of read my mind. So
Right. I think that's an opportunity. If we have a moratorium, that's an opportunity to start putting that survey together about the lifespan of existing infrastructure. And it would be very helpful to have that as a guide.
That might be better done. Going to a moratorium is a really heavy duty thing, politically and everything else.
Very.
absolutely, absolutely.
But certainly a study of our infrastructure before even thinking about it would be a great thing to do.
Mhm.
Yep.
Because
No,
that gives you
absolutely agree.
ammunition to say, hey, look, we got to stop for a minute and we got to get some grants and do some
Sure.
infrastructure work.
Sure.
Well, I have good news. We are doing a study of the Malden wastewater treatment plant that's going to result in recommendations for improving it and making it more energy efficient and improving capacity. And I've been speaking with our town engineer and Ray Mayone about the problems in Berkeley Heights with the pipes there. And we are looking to possibly get a FEMA grant to improve the capacity of those pipes to handle the water, because there are natural springs over there and there's a lot of development. So there are some things going on in that regard, and probably Ray Mayone and Doug, the former highway department, are pretty knowledgeable about what's going on. And as a matter of fact, there was a study done and pictures taken of those pipes in the stormwater pipes in Berkeley Heights. And they identified which pipes need to be replaced and which pipes can be relined. They have a method of relining them to seal any of the cracks. So there is discussion going on about that in that area. I do want to say also that there is a grant from the Nature Conservancy for up to $50,000 to support the conservation of climate resilient lands. And some of this money can be used for projects that result in the acquisition of resilient lands and waters within local landscapes. And I've read so much stuff now recently about grants. It's, just whirling in my head. There is a lot of money out there right now, but you have to be focused on what you want to achieve. And some of the recommendations are, you were talking about development. Some of the recommendations are that you identify areas within the town or village which could be developed, and you set the rules ahead of time about how much of it has to be open space and what has to be protected. So that when the developer starts making his plans, he already knows that you have to set aside this. You've got to leave this marsh or leave these trees. You don't have him develop his plan and decide to take trees down, and then the planning board says, no, you can't do that. You say that in the beginning, but it probably would be good. Another area is to identify the source waters that need to be protected, and try to find a way of either acquiring sections so that you have ultimate control over, or have some kind of a plan where you know that someone isn't going to come in and tap into the water source that we already need for the town and the village and the backup water that we're supposed to have. So there are things that can be done in that area, but it's more developing a plan before they come to you and say, we're going to do this. So that's for the zoning board, I guess, isn't it? Or the building department to develop plans like that. But there is money out there for trying to get plans together that would help you address those things.
I'm wondering if the comprehensive plan
Yeah.
would be appropriate place to, because we do have protections, as Carol well knows, in the comprehensive plan, natural resources protection. So I don't know if that would constitute or meet the requirements for what you're talking about, but that would be a place to start. And the zoning law has also areas of conservation of natural resource conservation. So there are
Yeah, I
provisions
think
in
it's,
zoning and the comprehensive plan. Carol, go ahead.
yeah, I'm sorry. I think it's a combination of many of those. They're not just one of them can do it, and the town board needs to be involved as well, because it takes political will to actually accomplish this in the final look at it.
Yeah.
So,
And New York State also just recently said they want to preserve 30% of the open land in the state
okay.
or to help with the climate. So that could be a goal for the town.
Mhm.
Well, our comprehensive plan talks about preserving up to 50%.
It's 50.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
50%, that's for Winston Farm, correct?
Are we doing that?
Well, we don't know yet.
Vincent Farm, for sure.
But I just want to wrap this up with one quick question to Zach, which is, Zach, we were told Supervisor Costello met with our board, with our commission back in August or September, said he expected to have information back from the Winston Farm developers towards the end of December. Could you please keep us apprised as to where we are in that, at the next meeting, where we are in that process, where the DEIS is, and any zoning law, any zoning provisions that are being considered for implementation with respect to the Winston Farm development. So for the next meeting, I think that would be really helpful.
That's not a problem. I can definitely provide an overall update.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions for Zach?
Mary, I had a question if I could ask Zach. Zach, hi, this is Mary McNamara. So
Hi, Mary.
how are you? It was nice
Good.
to see you last night.
Yes, it was good to see you too.
I noted in the minutes from the November CAC meeting, or the Climate Smart Community Task Force meeting, that you mentioned when asked about future water supplies or just ongoing need for more water, that the town and village were in conversation. I guess it's sort of a two-part question, but I wondered if there was more follow-up or follow-through on
At
that.
at this time, I don't have any more specific details. I do know that, and I believe that we talked about this, possibly in the November meeting, that the village did raise our rate in terms of our in terms of our cost of water that we receive from the village. There is this notion that we would like to explore alternative water sources. I don't think that there's been any in-depth exploration or discussion into those alternative sources. Yeah, that's probably as far as I can speak to that at this time.
And I guess I know it casually in conversation and then from the newspaper that the supervisor has been in touch with the supervisor in the town of Ulster with a conversation about purchasing water from Ulster. So I didn't know whether or not that had reached sort of a formal conversation at the town board.
No, that has not reached any sort of merit at our level or formal discussion. I do believe that to be accurate. I believe Supervisor Costello did meet with Supervisor Quigley in the town of Ulster, and some very preliminary, discussions and solutions may have been tossed around, but nothing that has manifested itself to the town board level at this time.
Great. Mary,
Thank you. Go
just
ahead, Mike.
one comment. This whole discussion is really under the auspices of the CAC.
Right.
Land use, water use, development.
Mhm.
And I wonder if, as a group, we need, especially with the Winston Forum coming online or some information coming out, that we focus our attention towards CAC issues of land use, development, and water to a greater degree. We spend a lot of time on climate, and which is, I'm not saying not to, but it kind of feels like there's an issue here that we really need to delve into and influence the town on. And it's really in the capacity of the CAC, not the task force.
Right, but in the past, my impression is that in the history of water, the jurisdiction is in the village. So, but the CAC is a town board, a town agent. Does that affect our ability to involve ourselves in this issue, do you think?
No, I'm talking about the concept of land use
Okay,
is the main focus of the CAC. That's really what the CA Conservation Advisory Commission. So it's basic, and water is just a part of it. It has nothing to do with the village's deal with the town. There's water in the town.
Yeah, that's just the supply. That doesn't, we're talking about failing infrastructure and land use and stuff like that.
Right.
That's our purview. Where we get it from them, they're talking about getting it from Ulster. That's the supply side. That's not the use supply like we're now talking about.
Well, I'm just saying that maybe we should start to think about those aspects a little bit more.
Yes.
Because they're coming up.
Yeah, Mary, this has gone on quite a while, but I have one piece of information if I could share with everyone. The DEC has a special source water protection program. They put out a newsletter on a regular basis. I think I've shared an earlier copy with members of this group. but they encourage communities to contact them. They will provide the expertise to develop a plan for your source water protection. And a number of communities have already joined with the DEC. It is free. It would not be a bad idea for the town of Saugerties and the village of Saugerties, both user and provider of our drinking water, together to contact the DEC, this particular group, and ask to meet with them and talk with them and see if they will provide an individual to work with us on all these issues that everybody is talking about for free. I will send the special issue that they recently sent out, because I have all the issues, to everybody, so that you can see the things that are being done and what this group is doing. And in it is also a form that you can apply to be receiving this on a regular basis. But I think a good step might be for the town and village together to go and contact this group under the DEC and see if they can provide help for all of these questions that are of concern to all of us.
Zach, is that something you would be willing to follow up with if Ken sends you the information?
Absolutely.
Okay, I will send it to everybody, including you, Zach. And
Thank you,
please
Ken.
look, if you have any other questions about it, because I've been following it from the
Sure.
beginning when it was first set up. It's now a second incarnation of this organization. So the name of it ends with a 2, meaning it's a second version of the group.
Yep.
DEC is very concerned about this statewide, and that's why this has been done and why they are offering to provide this expertise and this help to communities. I'll send it to everybody, and Zach, you'll get a copy, obviously.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. That's very helpful. That's very good. Anyone else? Any other questions before we go to, or comments before we go to announcements? Are there any announcements that anybody wanted to make about the CFC section? No? All right, then I'll move to adjourn the task force meeting. Is there a second?
Sure.
Hands up. Okay. All in favor? Okay.
Aye.
We are officially adjourned, and we'll move on to the CAC meeting. And the first item, of course, is the approval of minutes. I move the approval of the November 2023 CAC meetings. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, we're going to move on now to Mary McNamara. Mary contacted me one day, I guess earlier in the week, and about the Lower Esopus Creek Stream Management Plan. And as I understand it, that the comments there, they opened up the period for comments. Comments on the plan may be made up until January 22nd, which is Tuesday. So Mary has asked that the CAC consider comments to submit by Tuesday. And just
Or
by
Monday.
Pardon me?
I think it's Monday.
Monday? Oh, sorry. Okay, well, that's even worse. Okay, but I mean, just by way of background, a presentation was made on the plan a couple of months ago. I know, Leslie, you were there in person, and Skip and I were on the were there virtually. So there was a presentation by the consultants. So and Mary, of course, is completely knowledgeable on the topic. So we asked Mary if she could possibly present a draft of what comments you would like she would like the CAC to consider submitting to the, to whom do the comments go, Mary?
Thank you for letting me speak. The comments are part of a digitized comment form on an Ulster County page. So it automatically goes to Interfluve, the consultants hired by Ulster County. Otherwise, you can send comments directly to one of 2 or 3 Ulster County staff members who are managers of the program. I've typed up a very short memo to send to you all of, based upon comments that I got from Skip, reflecting what Mary and Skip felt were priorities based on your interaction with the Zoom part of the meeting in December. And I haven't finished what I was going to send you because I wanted to make sure I was properly representing you. So if I may, I would just keep going and say that Skip, you wrote in your email that water quality and invasive species management was a first priority before developing recreational priorities. Is that a very short, truncated way of what you and Mary felt were a priority?
Yeah, for myself, if you're asking me, yes, I think that they seem to be, didn't have a lot of emphasis on that in that meeting. And I think it's a precursor to any other development that they have. If they want to develop recreational and improve everything, the basic water quality and the presence of invasives is something that they should really prioritize before. That's the first step. So that's my feelings. And we did a breakout group, and Mary and I did make comments toward that, but somehow the logistics of the meeting, when we went back into the main group, the meeting was breaking up. So, but there was somebody who took notes on that in our subgroup. And I'm assuming that would be transferred, but you know what assuming does. So if you want to create something that we want to make a comment on,
And I have a document right here, but as I say, I wanted to add a little bit. And Leslie, you were also there. If I may, just, was there something that you felt should be added personally or as a representative of the CAC?
Yeah, kind of jumping into that at that moment was, you know, felt like I had a lot of catching up to do, and I haven't had a chance to look at the report, but I did, and I wasn't able to participate in one of the breakout groups. So, but I did, at your suggestion, Mary, drop a card with a comment, and I did not hear that this was going to be done, but one of the best ways to gauge water quality is a macroinvertebrate study.
Okay.
Some macroinvertebrate work has been done over time in the Esopus.
Right.
But it's just, those little critters can't get away if there's an oxygen problem or a water quality problem or even toxicity or something like that, where more mobile organisms can get away. So one of the best ways to know, you know, with to the biological communities, a macroinvertebrate study. So I would say macroinvertebrate monitoring at regular sites. And I would specifically look at above and below sewage treatment facilities, any like known inputs, if there's speedies permits or something above and below, and also above and below any tributary. And based on what I've seen in the past, that when the Esopus goes through the Hurley Flats and then picks up some sewage inputs in Kingston, the macroinvertebrate community gets depressed. And when the Plattekill and the Sawkill stream subwatersheds come in, the macroinvertebrate community recovers. So long way of saying, look at the bugs.
That's excellent. And do you think that it would help at all in the area where there's been harvesting of the invasive plants? Do you think that would be of interest to monitor, to add to the monitoring that you've been doing?
Oh yeah, I mean, certainly to continue monitoring what plant species are there would be good. It ought to be expanded.
But the macroinvertebrates wouldn't necessarily add to that.
No, that's not it's like it's water quality that,
Sure.
you know, oxygen and a lot of it is availability of oxygen.
And you're doing dissolved oxygen testing.
Mm-mm.
with
No, I
your-
don't have the equipment to do that. Yeah, so I mean, that would be good, DO testing.
Right, okay.
Um,
So just because I don't want to, I appreciate a little extra time to talk about all this, but so in terms of what's being presented at this Lower Sopus Stream Management Plan that will then inform an implementation plan where there's already money that exists to implement projects on day 2. After the draft is done, immediately thereafter, the county, in coordination with the Hudson River Foundation, will start implementing things that are highlighted in this plan. So it is not going to collect dust. It's going to be used right away. So Mary and Skip, based upon the guide of what I got from you all, I went and looked at how water quality improvement is addressed. And I only really found 2 categories, big ones, important ones, but one was a septic management and the other is stormwater management. And I did not want to mention those 2 coming from the CAC without a dialogue with you all. And stormwater to me is a broad issue throughout any watershed, but septic management, there are many areas along the Lower Sopus Creek corridor where it is exceptionally an issue, so much so that in many communities, private wells have no longer been usable. So Mary, I don't know if you have something you want to add to the conversation of septic management. It's such a sexy topic, but so important.
I don't know how that's addressed. I don't know what data the town has in terms of where the septic, what communities are solely or mostly on septic. I really don't have a handle on that. I did want to put one fine point on the invasive species.
Absolutely, absolutely.
When I looked at the paragraph where it talks about invasive species in the goal, and I was thinking that there should be a distinction between the aquatic invasive species and the terrestrial. They're all lumped together in that paragraph.
Okay.
When I spoke about it at the presentation, I was speaking particularly about the aquatic invasive species.
Right,
so
right.
That goes directly to the water quality.
That's a good point. And they do mention starting upstream and then working downstream. And I actually addressed that, that I'll share in a minute, that based upon need, the town and village of Saugerties started immediately with dealing with the issue in our region.
Yeah, and the other point, which I believe is outside the purview of this study or this plan, is to address the turbid water releases. So
sorry, go on.
Am I correct in saying that it's outside of the?
It is not outside in terms of data that would show the impact of turbidity on the fish, on the aquatic life, and data that shows the impact of the settling out of turbid water impacting the habitat. So aquatic life and habitat. And we already have a section, the Lower Sopus Creek Advisory Committee already has a section addressing that the releases should be higher, that the amount of base flow releases should be higher to improve the quality of the habitat and the for aquatic life. So that is already addressing the releases. So no, I think that part of the study is underrepresented. So you bring up a really good point. And maybe I interrupted you before you were finished
No,
with
no,
what
no,
you
I
want
just
to
wanted-
say.
Well, it's the solution to it may be out of the purview of this thing, but the study of it and the showing of the effect of it is not. Is that what you're saying? And I think that's what this could be. They're inspecting the creek for its conditions.
Yes.
And although they can't do anything, it's out of their purview to control what DEP does. It's certainly within their purview to say, hey, this stuff you're dumping into the creek is really making it crappy here, and bring that to the fore. And I think that's more of what I was talking about, water quality. I mean, I think sewage is also important, but to bring to light that the quality of the stream is being affected by sources outside of our control.
And actually, Skip, and I forgot to mention it, I think I mentioned it last night at the town board presentation, the consent order that was signed in 2013 between New York State DEC and New York City DEP. It says if the stream management plan is done while the environmental impact statement has not yet been completed, then the environmental impact statement must consider the stream management plan.
Then there's an effective reason for them to emphasize this.
And I would say that at the moment, to me, my personal biggest disappointment in this plan is that it does not address in any serious way the impact of sedimentation, of the settling out of the turbid water, as well as the impact on aquatic life. And and to a lesser understood degree, and Leslie or Carol or someone, to what degree is sediment increasing the life of the bacteria that exist in the stream from different sources, known and unknown sources? So is it fair to say that the study of and the showing the effect of turbidity on the water quality and the habitat, the quality of the habitat, the quality of life, and the overall quality of the water is something that the CAC is very interested in?
Yes, definitely.
And then circling back around, there is a section 6.1.5 that talks about a program that would be voluntary or else some sort of regulation, neighborhood by neighborhood or municipality by municipality, that institutes a septic management program, whether it's for maintenance or finding funding to replace, but something that has a better handle on failed septic systems and their impact to groundwater and their impact to the nearby surface water.
I think we would make, I don't think we should recommend communities do any laws, but a study, the same as the turbidity study, a study of those effects and bring that to the fore would be important.
And Mary, you were gonna say?
No, as I said earlier, I have no idea of the parameters of the septic system issue. Does the town know? Does the town know where the septic systems are along the creek?
When I'm talking about septic, I guess I'm talking about personal septic systems.
Right, right.
Well, that's what the study would find out.
Right. And Ken or Carol, I don't know if you want to weigh in on how the planning board has dealt with septic issues with developments, but
well, obviously it's not, yes, we do look at what the engineers provide us with. And most of them, if they're in high water tables, can create an engineered septic system, but we're talking about right along the river and creek, right? So
Correct.
obviously, there is seepage that would go into the water, how well it's working, how well the soils are working right around it. And especially when it's when the water table, when the stormwater comes through, it washes away a lot of the soil that was being used by the septic systems to help filter it. So
Right.
I,
Just on that point,
I actually think that there should be, nobody should have a septic system along any water or creek within 100 or 200 feet. I don't know what, there is a rule about the 100, but maybe we have to create something a little further away.
well, they're grandfathered, Carol, as we know. I mean, along the Soapus Creek Road.
Well,
they're
then,
wrong,
if
but-
they were grandfathered, could we not institute some sort of requirement that would help, we would, or somebody would help pay for that? It's not good for the creek, it's not good for anybody along the creek, including the aquatic and invasive species or whatever they are that want to grow there.
And the
But,
drinking wells as well.
I mean, obviously, it affects everything. And maybe we need to create some sort of funding source for people who can't afford to change it, but to actually implement something that creates another sewer district.
So essentially, if we're just talking town of Saugerties, we're just essentially talking from basically down by Lake Katrine, right? All the way down to the river, to the Hudson.
So where you live, do you have a sewer system that you tie into? No, that's what I thought, yeah.
So our whole road is, that's something Vernon worked very hard on a couple of years ago to get a water and sewer. When the Kings Highway project was being developed, he really tried very hard to get sewer and water down. No, so we're talking essentially from the Hudson River, down by the lower creek, below the dam, all the way down to where, like Katrine, to Ulster. So that would be the whole area that we're talking about.
That would be the primary area. Yes, that
But
is
then you
correct.
also have all the communities further
So
upstream.
City of Kingston has a sewer system. Hurley does not. And Hurley has that horrible water department taking care of their water infrastructure needs. In just 1 second, Leslie. And but it did come out over and over and over again at different workshops, different surveys, that this is a need and that it's a gap in the regulations, that only Ulster County Department of Health has the oversight. So this would be voluntary with a evolution of studies and different municipalities helping. Leslie, please.
I don't know how this would go over in the communities along the river, but where I grew up, summer camps had their septic systems dye tested. And if the dye came out where it wasn't supposed to be, you had a certain amount of time to fix that septic system.
Yeah,
And that would, that's certainly a way of testing it.
Yeah.
That's true.
yeah.
Good
I
idea.
recall Ulster County was supposed to have oversight on whether there was going to be a water quality plan when HITS said they would create a new a new one and taking over the Sawyer Kill, and that never happened. The Ulster County water department never followed up on it. It was mandated by the EPA at one point, but they never followed up.
And when you say Ulster County Water Department, do you mean the Department of Health?
Perhaps
because I don't
But-
think we have another department at the county level
Okay,
that
okay,
oversees such
maybe
things.
maybe that is the Department of Health. I guess
Otherwise,
it
the
was-
DEC.
Yeah,
but
it was
yeah.
some time ago, I can't remember, but it was the Ulster County, yes, probably the Health Department that didn't follow up on the recommendations.
Mary, would you want to just draft a sentence or two on the
Yeah,
septic system, and I know I personally would rely
that's-
on what your suggestion be,
So-
what your suggestion would be. Would everybody
Yeah.
be comfortable if Mary?
but I would share it with you all, and if you want to, if just this once, you're willing to digitally review it and sort of do a thumbs up. This is informal, you know, I mean, it's formal, but it's in a very informal environment. But so as I say, I started to draft something and wanted to make sure I didn't overstep your voice.
Well, I would suggest that you,
And send it around to everyone.
yeah, and then
Absolutely.
we just do a thumbs up.
Okay, and I would send it as an open Word doc so that you could add or subtract from it.
Okay.
So, great, thank you.
Or even if you sent it as a Word doc, I think it's maybe
That's-
easier for most of us.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
You
I would
as
send
a
it that
Word
way.
doc, and then we can
Yep.
comment in Word rather than
Yes.
going to the doc file, because
Oh, I
sometimes.
didn't mean it that way. Yeah, I would just send it as a Word document.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And-
interpreted what you were saying was that you would send it as an editable Word document,
Exactly.
Right.
not a, locked up document.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
We could
correct.
edit.
And
Any other questions for Mary or comments or, I think this is a good effort, Mary, to try and focus on the creek because the deterioration on the creek over the last, well,
Yeah.
whatever years I've been there.
Yeah.
has been so-
Thank you to Mary. You've been doing this for a lot of years.
I what? What did you say?
all of us.
Well, but especially you.
Well, and Mary O'Donnell has paperwork
And
going
Mary,
back to
yeah.
the 1980s for discussing the invasive species, the aquatic invasive plants issue.
I'll add Mary to that.
I did
I'm
not,
nowhere near her in this department. I think you crossed me off the list.
there is one more category I didn't mention, and that's the riparian buffer. So the more plants, the cooler the water, the lower the amount of plant growth and algal blooms. So if I may, I would also add that as a priority, but it's not as high a priority. Okay. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. That was quite informative. Okay, what's next on the agenda here? The critical environmental areas. We talked about this at the last meeting, Kathleen and Leslie, and I think Leslie or maybe Kathleen, we're going to look at.
I totally dropped the ball and didn't do that. I will do it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did look it up and I can't like recite what it is I found.
Okay.
So,
Okay, it's not time sensitive, but I thought since we
no,
had it the last time, maybe we should do a
yeah,
follow-up.
thank you for
No,
that reminder.
No worries. Let's see. Oh, yes, next on the agenda. Do you want to give us an update, Leslie, on the meadow, the pollinator meadow?
Sure, yeah. And thanks to let's see, I know Carol helped, Skip helped, certainly Kathleen helped, Mike helped, and Elizabeth helped. So we had just a great turnout from CAC folks. It's seeded. It has been, we put mulch down around one of the perimeters, and that's where we're gonna plant specimen plants that feature what's in the garden. And the town fenced it off to keep snowmobilers and people and stuff out of it for the winter. It's put to bed, it's mulched. I mean, it's we put straw on it And so it's put to bed for the winter, and come spring, we'll put the specimen plants in, and probably we'll be buying them from the Catskill Native Nursery, other native nurseries. I know Skip mentioned Source. And want to develop and have the town install a sign as to what that project is, and then each one of the groups of specimen plants to have labels on them to say what that plant is, just say it's, you know, a representative of what's in the garden. So off to a good start, I think. And
Yeah.
Greg Jorvis is pretty excited about the project. He was really happy to see, you know, we did what we said we were going to do when we said we were going to do it, and it looks pretty good. So yeah, that's the update. It's happening.
And you got the
Thank you.
cooperation of the Boys and Girls Club, which I thought was
That's right.
wonderful.
Yeah, we got the Boys and Girls Club involved, yep, and they were super stoked to do it. And you know, and I plied them with hot chocolate and cookies and music. And then, oh yeah, and it did get coverage in the newspaper. Dave Gordon did come, took some pictures. I sent him some pictures, and so we did have some media coverage. And so now by the end of March, I have to do a progress report for our funder, and I'm going to try to get it done sooner than that, because excuse me, I don't want to just drop the ball and let it go, because there's not really anything that's going to happen between now and the end of March. I might as well do it sooner than later.
Well, thank you, Leslie. It's a
Thank
good.
you, Leslie.
It's a
Oh,
lot.
thank you
It's great
all. You
fun.
know, it's not a one-person job, it's a big job. So
And
Yeah.
your ginger cookies were great.
And
Trader
it was
Joe's.
cold weather, so it was nice doing it in the cold weather, in spite of the
It
cold weather.
was, yeah, it was. Yep. So thank you.
It was impressive when I left. You guys had so much to do and I couldn't do any more. And you and Skip, as far as I know, did the rest of it.
Yeah,
So,
with the Boys and Girls Club, and they brought, there were three, I think it was 2 or 3 counselors. Maybe it was just 2 with
Two
Boys and Girls
counselors
Club.
and 4 kids.
Was it 3?
Was it 2 counselors?
2 counselors.
Maddie
They-
and yeah,
Yeah, Maddie and what's her name? I guess.
Dolores.
Yeah, they just jumped right in and
Yeah.
did the work. So, yep.
Mm.
Anyway, it would be neat to think about, do some kind of an event in the springtime,
yeah, I was wondering,
public event.
this might not be the year to do it, but it seems like it would be a great place for bringing artists,
Mhm.
sculpture, something, you know, how you have frogs and stuff, little metal things that you can plant, you can poke into the soil. It'd
Oh,
be great to have something even bigger that shows pollinators, or I don't
oh
know.
yeah, yep.
So, anyway, I'm not an artist.
No, but I mean, it's certainly, you know, over the course of the winter and spring, I can reach out to the high school ecology club and the ag club, or whatever it is they have at the high school, but because it is right there. So anyway, and the Boys and Girls Club said they're always looking for that. They were stoked about being involved. So part of the grant is community involvement, and that's supposed to be a big part of it. So I
Got
have to
that.
Yeah.
carry on in that direction as well.
Good. Very good. Okay, next up, announcements. Are there any announcements that anyone would like to make and share? No announcements? How
I-
about?
I would add an announcement, if I may.
Go ahead, Mary.
That the town and village of Saugerties applied for a Department of Transportation grant for alternative transportation. It's a TAP, let's see, so Transportation Alternative Program and Carbon Reduction Program. So it was very exciting that the village did join the town in applying for this, and it would go from where the sidewalk ends south of the Esopus Creek Bridge down to where Route 32 and 9W separate. It's a little over a mile, I believe, a mile point a quarter. So it's a substantial grant. It would not be for building sidewalks, even though the publicity's been sidewalks. It'd be for a side path. So it was Dennis Doyle and Brian Brian from the planning department who came to the Saugerties Transportation Advisory Council and strongly recommended that they apply for this. We got this at the last minute in November, mid-November, and the town hired an engineer, Lindsay Zegrid, something like that. So she did the work, and Lou Klepner put together some PowerPoints, but Fred and Leanne both went to a village council meeting, and Lou presented his PowerPoint to them, and they signed on to apply for this. So the municipalities are responsible for maintaining, say, snow removal for a side path, as opposed to if it was a sidewalk, it'd be privately maintained. So anyway, that grant won't become, they won't announce it until May. But if it does happen, it would be the first time there would be the development of some sort of complete streets approach to that very busy corridor. And Elizabeth, thank you for writing a letter of support for
Well, it
that.
was I'm sorry I couldn't come. We only heard about it that afternoon, but
Well, it went well. It went
good.
very
It's a very good idea for complete street goals, and so I'm glad that it's in the works.
Mary, since you mentioned that it was one of the goals is for carbon reduction,
Mhm.
will there be a study to show what was reduced, what CO2 was reduced? So we
Oh,
could,
that's a great comment. It feels like that's a kind of question to ask the environmental engineer who helped us out. And she, this is her focus doing this. And she actually was an important engineer for the development of the Empire State Trail. So I would think that if maybe it's almost like a semi-formal letter, because I'm thinking she has the connections to make that part of the final grant deliverable, is that some monitoring would be important.
yeah, it would be. And is this part of the clean streets or complete streets?
It was not presented that way,
'Cause I
but
think here is a CSC program, action for.
correct. If the town and village got it, it would definitely be that. It is mentioned in the comprehensive plan, and it was mentioned in the Saugerties Transportation Mobility something plan that was done like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. So Leslie,
What was the matching for the village and the town? What's the matching for the grant?
20%. And so about 5% of the project is in the village of Saugerties. So 15% of the total amount would be the responsibility of the town. The hope is to find matching funds from state legislators, from other grants, from
cover that
other
matching?
sources. I'm sorry?
To cover that matching?
Correct. It is
It's
a
a
$4.5
substantial amount of money, right?
$4.5 million. Yes.
What about in-kind services? Is that included in the proposal? To count
I
match?
believe this is cash. Leanne would maybe remember more specifically, but it's a good point. But it is 20% of a large budget. Leslie, I don't know if you had something different.
I know it was another announcement that yeah.
I'm done with that, but it's a big deal.
Go ahead, Leslie.
So I just sent you, I forwarded you an email, Mary. There's a expo and information session for home energy improvements. It's a clean power expo in Kingston on the 25th, the evening, the 25th of January. And our friend Steve Weir is one of the presenters. So I just sent you the announcement that I got. And if you think it's worthwhile to just share it out to everybody here.
Will do. Okay, anything else? We're ready to adjourn, I think. Okay, I move that we adjourn our CAC meeting. Is there a second?
Okay,
I second.
take care, everybody.
See you. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Meeting is adjourned. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Stay warm, everybody.
Keep
Yeah.
warm. Keep warm. Okay, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Been
Good night.
cold on the mountain.